mentioned here as competitors, retailers, partners. So some of these themes in terms of who really is the competition, and is it just the next FMCG branded company, or is it somebody else or somebody outside the category? I think is an important consideration to think about.
Lunch 145 to 130 तक लगाने पड़ेगा.
India from a go-to-market perspective, I think is unique. The way I would like to think about it is we have the coexistence of 19th, 20th and 21st century at the same time. And interestingly, on an absolute basis, all three of them are growing. So it's not to say one at the expense of the others. The complexity that it creates for organizations to actually span all three at the same time is something from an urban perspective is very interesting. The second one, to my mind, is an underreported fact as again. Now, even all reports, all companies will say what's our metro strategy and our tier 1 strategy and our tier 2 strategy. And just for urban India, we have the metro, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 classification in terms of town classes and different approaches. But rural is thought about as a whole. Actually, if you take the sub-districts view of rural, actually the top 100 rural sub-districts actually have a higher average household income close to 2x that of the average tier 3 town. They actually have greater percentage of households earning greater than 5 lakhs, and they actually have an aggregate demand also which is high. The same thing is true for the next 400 rural sub-districts as well. So, the question I would pose is, as one thinks about urban in a segmented manner, but rural is as one monolithic whole, how should one start thinking about rural in a disaggregated manner? And I know that some of the people here have already started thinking about it. But interestingly, on many of the elements, many of the rural areas actually have more information and data available than urban areas. Right? So the entire theme about urban being data rich, access easy, and media consumption easy, I think that entire thesis is now reversing, and in many situations it's virtually indistinguishable as to what's urban and what's rural. The one big question which always comes is, whenever I'm meeting global companies, boards, or global executives who are visiting India, one of the questions which always comes up is to say, how come in a country of 1.38, 1.4 billion people, talent actually seems to be the biggest constraint? And some of the numbers that you see here, and we are actually going to have a specific session on talent. But I would put out a question or a hypothesis that actually FMCG historically, traditionally, had been the magnet for talent across the board. And one of the reasons why we see the 3, 6, 10 in terms of revenue, profits, and market cap happened because FMCG attracted the best talent. As we fast forward in the future, from a different perspective, what FMCG needs to do in order to attract and retain the best talent, and not just sales, brand, marketing talent, but also technical, research, and digital talent, I think is a question which is open for FMCG companies. If I pull it all together, and if I had to think about FMCG company of the future, you see three names here, and these by no mean of imagination to say that these are all successes. In fact, one of the reasons I have put these three is some of them have had a little bit of a bumpy ride. This is not to say that this is the only model of success. Interestingly, all three models that I have picked are not from the West, but actually from the East, from China. And what's interesting, whether it's Three Squirrels or Perfect Diary or It's Style, is the model that they have adopted is a build on the conventional 4-5 P's that we are all familiar with. So, Three Squirrels, and I'm just going to take the last couple of minutes to give a flavor of that one not intended. This Three Squirrels is one of the large snack companies, was one of the large snack companies in China. It reached close to a 5 billion CNY revenue in less than 10 years. One of the insights that they had was nuts for Chinese people had great nutritional perceived value and were big occasions for snacking. However, during the preceding period, they actually had a situation where nuts were scarce. So as incomes rose, there was increasing